And Candace Owens' response is, keep your young kids away from Graham Allen. No joke. My belief is that no man is capable of defending stuff like this that isn't himself perverted. But yet you defended Andrew Tate.
Wow.
But yet you literally had Harvey Weinstein on your show. But also, that right there is why so many big name people are afraid to call out Candace Owens. Because the truth of the matter is, there is no depth that is low enough that she will not go. I make a video saying I'm going to stand up for a widow and the orphans of Charlie Kirk, and I call out the cowards that were supposed friends of Charlie that are saying nothing. And Candace's response is, Graham Allen is a pedophile. No facts, no evidence, no nothing. In fact, I would argue to say that most people know that we're an adoptive family. So I've had my entire life ripped apart through investigations and everything, because any of you who have adopted a child, you know you can't just show up. So I would say that my background is cleaner than Candace Owens ever has been. In fact, I also hold a highest level top secret security clearance you possibly can have. My past and my background has been looked at every single stone. Can you say the same thing, Candace Owens? So to that accusation that is just not only slanderous, defaming, and libel, I simply say, are you sure about that? Because for you to make a statement like that, you better have something to back it up and prove it. My life through adoption, through working with the Pentagon, everything has been torn apart, upside down through lawyers, investigators, everything. My record is clean. Worst thing that's ever happened to me is a speeding ticket in my life.
Let's go.
So I'm an open book in that regard. Go ahead, look. Have your Canaanites go look and try to find whatever. But this is yet another example of Candace Owens taking the extreme character assassination. This is the new Nazi. Calling people a pedophile is the new calling people Nazis. If people disagree with what you're saying, by Candace's very definition, I'm just asking questions. Well, anyone who asks questions about the person asking the questions is a traitor, and they're a pedophile. That's the new thing of the left. Because that's what I also want to bring up, the fact through the rest of this is Candace Owens has been and always will be a raging leftist that has been a wolf in sheep's clothing for over a decade.
That's the point. Let's go.
The only difference you're seeing now is that now it's more money for her and more opportunity for her to let her inner leftist out. She also makes this allegation about me being on PragerU's payroll. You can see it here. His God is money. He is on the payroll of PragerU to influence people. Well, this is very interesting because you can look at PragerU's tax filings. They're a charity organization, so you can see every dollar of everything that goes out from PragerU. You won't find Graham Allen's name, but what you will find is Candace Owens' name. In fact, didn't they pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Come on.
Because that's where your show got its start, correct? PragerU? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty positive that the only person in this conversation who's been on PragerU's payroll, as if that's this bad thing, but you think it is, so let's talk about it. The only person who's been on PragerU's payroll is you. Is you. You are the only one.
Come on.
This is what Candace Owens does. She manufactures outrage. She manufactures rage. She manufactures character assassination because that's what she does. So those are the responses to the allegations But now I feel that it is time to just tell the truth, right? That's what Candace Owens says all the time. It's time to tell the truth. It's time to let the cat out of the bag. And here's the truth that no one has ever wanted to say for the entirety of the past decade. And that is Candace Owens this is the biggest kept secret inside the conservative movement. Candace Owens has been the biggest thorn in the side, diva, absolute nightmare wrecking ball to the entire conservative movement behind the scenes for the past decade. That's the truth. That's the truth. Anyone who's not on record in front of a camera, they'll tell you the truth. Every single person that has ever worked with Candace Owens that's not still being paid by Candace Owens or has an NDA with Candace Owens, they can't stand her. She's horrible. Treats people badly. She doesn't fulfill her commitments. All of it. In fact, let's start with the first thing. Turning Point USA, back in 2017, when she was like the thing for Turning Point USA. All right, let's go back to that photo I was referencing, Todd. This was at Arizona State University, and this was my very first campus event with Turning Point. Talking to the crowd, they get to ask us these questions, blah, blah, blah. Well, what's known in the background is Candace was notorious for just disappearing and not showing up when she was supposed to show up. She would just disappear, not show up. In fact, if you look in the back there, you see the sign, and the sign actually says Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. You see, at the time I was told that it was because Candace was sick. This was them running cover for Candace. But since then, I've learned that that's actually not the truth. The truth is this was just par for the course of Candace Owens to just negate her obligations to Turning Point USA, the very organization that you would not know who Candace Owens is right now if it were not for Turning Point. It's also known, again, the other biggest kept secrets out there is Candace Owens has morphed into everything that she feels she needs to be to make the most money that she can while she can do it. Everyone that has ever known Candace Owens, you see Jeremy Boring talking about this, everybody knows that Candace Owens cares about two things. And really the divide between the first one and the second one is pretty big. 1 and 2. Number 1 is money. Candace Owens cares about money and money alone. You see, oftentimes when people accuse people of something, like she said, my God is money, that's normally projection of themselves. Again, Candace, I have said this on the show multiple times. I'm willing to show you my bank account if you're willing to show me yours. And what I can promise you is your bank account is far larger than mine. So for my God being money, I disagree. And many of you will comment and you'll say, Graham, this was horrible. All her Canaanites will come to her defense and be like, you should have talked to her in private about this. The truth is I tried on multiple occasions. I texted Candace Owens on the phone number I had for her. I wrote her DMs. And then when I thought, well, maybe she changed her number, I reached out to Brandon Tatum. And I said, Brandon, can you please deliver this message to Candace directly for me? I just want to talk. I want to find out what's going on. He told me that he would. I believe he did. And she did nothing. She doesn't want to talk to me because I'm not big enough to talk to her, and or she knows that I am a contrarian to her beliefs. So therefore she goes on the Hodge Twins podcast because that's a layup interview. Let's talk about her and Charlie's relationship. It is also known by everyone that the thing that gave Charlie literal ulcers from anxiety and worry was Candace Owens. It is known by everyone inside that whenever Candace would come up, Candace is calling, she wants something, or she wants to talk about something, or she wants to come this, she wants to come that. Charlie would be riddled with such anxiety that other people would have to talk to Candace for Charlie, because Charlie knew what Candace actually was. It's like that scene from Halloween. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but there's this scene with Dr. Loomis, and he's talking about Michael Myers, and he's talking about the fact the first several years he spent trying to reach Michael Myers, and then the next 10 years he tried to keep him locked up because he saw that what was behind those eyes was nothing but pure evil. I believe that the same thing happened to Charlie behind closed doors with Candace Owens. Charlie at some point saw what was behind Candace Owens' eyes. And all he wanted to do was figure out a way to appease her enough to not have her turn against Turning Point, because you're seeing what happens when Candace Owens decides she wants to destroy something, somebody, someone, some movement, whatever it may be. Charlie lived in fear of Candace. Not because he didn't believe that he could defeat her, but we had elections to win, and it looked best to look as a united front in front of the world so we could win this elections. And he knew of what she was capable of doing if he did not. That's the truth. That is the truth among everything. Charlie grew to a point where he could not stand her. And in fact, if you look at Candace's history, this is par for the course of Candace. In fact, it's deleted now, but in January of 2016, this is the article seen around the world that most people had trouble finding because since then the website's been deleted. But this is less than a year before Charlie and Candace met. Now, this really is Candace Owens. It even says at Candace_Amber, which if you know anything about Candace, you know that's her middle name. And it's an article written January 6th of 2016. I think affairs are romantic. Let's just read a little bit of this, shall we? And I know this is going to piss a lot of people off because cheating is awful, because millions of families are torn apart year after year because therapy, because counseling, that's why. I mean, even without the promise of marriage, the devastation it causes on even the most basic levels of dating is unthinkable, horrible. But I think affairs are romantic. I've an admittedly twisted mind. It's never swam along with the masses. Where the world sees black lines, I am blinded by colors and shapes, wonderful patterns, daring zigzags, lyrical neons. We hear that someone has had an affair and the world cries out, quote, tragedy, but I, sweet comedy. Humor found not in collateral damage of tears, but in our inescapable humanity. I laugh with the universe as it silently mocks our institutions, marriage, dating, and other associated obligations, structured lines, make-believe lines, rendered powerless by our inevitable chaos, by the one look and then lust, the one sentence and the fall. And falling is falling after all. It's a descent and then a crash without intent, purpose, or control. Nobody falls on purpose. It's fatal misstep and then gravity at risk to both yourself and others. Nice little thing here. We won't read anymore, but that's Candace Owens a mere 1 year before she met Charlie Kirk. Again, I say, my point to you today is Candace Owens has always been a leftist. She's been a leftist for the past 10 years. And now it's becoming cooler for her to admit her leftist tendencies. You see, I know for a fact of how Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens actually met. You see, very shortly after that article, Candace Owens sees it's not really getting a lot of traction. It's not really taking off. Then this mythical thing started happening where here comes the mythical unicorn idea of the black conservative. Now we have a real moneymaker. Candace then changes her YouTube to Red Pill Black. She starts making YouTube. In fact, I was first introduced to Candace via text message of Chad Prather while I was in New York going on a Fox News hit. Candace was just starting. And to her and Charlie's own verbal admission in front of thousands of people at Turning Point USA's Winter Gala events, the very same one that she mocked Turning Point for doing this year, Charlie Kirk would tell the story of how they met, and Candace would agree that somewhere in that January of 2016 to 2017, when they met, Candace has this radical transformation. She becomes a black conservative, and she approaches Charlie Kirk at an event saying, "Hi, I'm Candace Owens, and I want to free the minds of black America from the Democrat plantation." Now, I don't know if that was a scripted thing between Candace and Charlie to say.
I know you liked that episode. This is actually a clip from a larger live stream. The link is down in the description, so you can go check it out. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you down there. Grace and peace.